Welcome back, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Matthew Manfredo, also known as the Choco Doc, and I'm a second-year medical student at WASM, which is Western Atlantic University School of Medicine. I know, it's been a really long time since my last video where I'm actually talking with you guys, but I decided early on during my med school career that my first 2 years of med school, I really needed to focus on the content, and doing the YouTube part of things was just going to be too much. So I decided that I would try to push it off more into my third and fourth years, where I'll be in the hospitals, where I'll be working and doing all of my core rotations and everything like that. So without further ado, I can tell you the reason why we have the video today. For those of you who don't know, October is Trichotillomania Awareness Month. And I have had trichotillomania for almost 14 years now. Coming up in March will be my 14-year anniversary. And not only is October Trichotillomania Awareness Month, we had a lecture in med school talking about the mood, anxiety, and traumatic stress disorders, and naturally trichotillomania was in that. So I thought it was only fitting to talk about my experience with trichotillomania, how it's affected my life, and just all the ins and outs of it, and just be completely open and honest about my experience with it. Now you may be asking yourself, what exactly is trichotillomania? And I'm going to reference the DSM-5, which is the Diagnostic Statistical Manual for Mental Disorders, 5th edition, and overall how they describe it as a recurrent pulling of one's hair resulting in hair loss with repeated attempts to decrease or stop hair pulling. The hair pulling cannot be better explained by the symptoms of another mental disorder, and the hair pulling or hair loss cannot be attributed to another medical condition. One of the things, though, that they took out from the 4th edition to the 5th, I think they should have kept in it personally. So they took out the portion that says there's pleasure, gratification, or relief when pulling out the hair. Because just speaking from my own personal experience, that is one of the biggest pieces of trichotillomania, is that there is such a relief and a gratification every single time I pull out my hair. And I think that should have been kept in, but I'm not the psychologist here, so I don't really get to have a say. I know I've said the word very quickly multiple times already, so let's just look at it visually. So this right here is trichotillomania. So I love etymology, so let's break the word down. Trich refers to hair, tillo means to pull, and mania is frenzy. So it literally translates to a hair-pulling frenzy, which is the perfect explanation for me as to what trichotillomania is. In addition to trichotillomania, I also have dermatillomania, onchophagia, trichophagia, and dermophagia. So long story short, not only do I pull my hair out, I eat it. I pull and pick at my skin, like all these scabs you can see on my face. I have so many scars just from the amount of times I've picked at my skin. I also eat that, and then nail biting. I have all of those, and I have for the past 14 years almost, which is well over half of my life, which is pretty crazy to think about. And for those people who would like more of a visual of how to spell those, there's dermatillomania, onchophagia. So if you just take dermatillo, add in your phagia part, then you'll have the dermophagia, same with trichophagia. And these are all under the umbrella of BFRBs. That stands for Body Focused Repetitive Behavior Disorders. Things that you're constantly doing to your body multiple times, it's repetitive, and it's specific to one's own body. And this is the Trichotillomania Awareness Ribbon, but it's also used for just BFRBs in general. And in case you wanted to know, overall, here is the green with blue trim ribbon to show all of the different types of categories that fall under this ribbon: trichotillomania, dermatillomania, and then those other BFRBs that we just discussed. Now you may be wondering, Matthew, how did it start? Why do you do it? How do you do it? Where do you do it? And all those questions will be answered within this video. Let's start with the basic question, when did it start? It started for me in March of my 6th grade year, right around when we were doing CSAPs, which was the Colorado State Assessment Program. It was the standardized testing that you do from K through 8, just like normal. And I was always a really good test taker, but I don't know, there was something about this time around that I noticed myself just started picking at my eyebrows. And then before I knew it, I had no right eyebrow. And then it just kept going from there. This started when I was 12 years old, but I never knew the reason why I started until I was 19. And that's not something I'll necessarily discuss right at this moment, but it's something that I suppressed for essentially my entire life. And I learned that me starting to pull out my hair was actually a coping response in response to something else that had happened earlier on, and that just perpetuated, and I just couldn't stop pulling my hair. If there's a hair on your body, I have pulled it out thousands of times, and I am not exaggerating when I use that number. Count the number of times that I've pulled out my eyebrows or my eyelashes or my leg hair, arm hair, but the hair that I typically will focus on is eyelashes and head hair, just because those are the ones that have the best follicles. And those places, especially head hair, that have the best follicles, those are the ones that taste the best. And trust me, the number of people that have told me, ew, Matthew, you eat your hair? No, duh, it's disgusting. I am perfectly and painfully aware of this. You're not the one who's doing it. I find it really funny when people say that, because I'm very aware that it's a disgusting thing to eat your hair or eat your skin. I know. If I could stop it, I probably would. But it's a part of the mental illness, and it's not something that I can stop. I have tried, but it is necessary for me to feel essentially completed once I pull out a hair. If I just pull out a hair and throw it off to the side, it's not good enough. And I have to keep doing it until I get the correct number of follicles that feel just right. This is a lot where my OCD comes in, is that I have to do it in numbers of 3. I'll pull out one hair. If it has a good follicle, great. That's the first one on my list. Then I have to pull out a second one in a row. It has to be a nice follicle. Great. I have a second one. Wonderful. I can feel it on my lips. I can feel that sensation. I eat it. I'm great. Then I have to get that third one, and then I can be like, oh, okay, I'm done. I know it's disgusting. It is nasty. But you don't have to tell me that. I'm aware of it. And it's funny to me when people keep bringing that up, that it's disgusting. I know, but it's a part of the mental illness, and I'm fully aware of it. It's something that I have to deal with. I don't pull out my hair nearly as much as I used to when I was younger. Like, compared to what I do now, it's essentially nothing. I can show you one of the pictures that I have from, I think I was a freshman in college when I had this picture. This actually came from a post that I did on Facebook about 7 years ago. So this is just a little look as to the amount of hair I could pull out. This is not even the worst that it's been. I could pull out all of that section all the way around the back and have the top of my head done. I would have no eyebrows. Like, you can even see in this picture where I'm missing most of my right eyebrow. I have no eyelashes there. So my hair pulling has been really, really bad in the past, but this is probably the best my eyebrows have looked in years. I keep it this way. I don't typically touch them too often anymore. I don't pull them completely out. I pretty much just pull these areas out right here, because then it keeps them nice, but it also gives me a way to meet the need of pulling my hair out without pulling out too much, which is a really fine balance, which is something that I have to work on constantly. Honestly, trichotillomania sucks. Like, I can spend hours, especially when I was in middle school and high school, even in early college, I would spend hours just pulling out my hair, whether it was while I was watching TV or doing homework or sitting in class. I would just continuously pull it out, and especially with my OCD, I would make sure that the edges had to be perfectly round and curved. So if I noticed that there were 1 or 2 hairs that were outside of that perfect curve, then I would have to pull those out. But once I start that, then I have to keep going and keep going and keep going. And then before I know it, 3 hours later, I have a patch that wraps around half of my head. I used so much hairspray in high school. I'm pretty sure I used more than most girls that I knew, because if I had a giant bald spot on the crown of my head, I would then literally have to do a comb over with my hair just to cover it up. And I destroyed the ozone, especially my freshman year of high school, with how much hairspray I used. It's crazy. But long story short is that trichotillomania has affected my life in a lot of ways. And I need people to understand and realize that it's more than just pulling your hair out. And it's not just because of stress or boredom or anxiety, because it's not. There is so much more to it. There's the whole aspect of thoroughly enjoying it and liking it, and that feeds into the addiction. It truly is an addiction. I think that there is a brain change where your dopaminergic neurons are using your reward pathway when you pull out that hair, that it just perpetuates it and makes you want to do it more and more and more, just like any other addiction. And that's something that people don't realize. They just assume that I pull my hair out because I'm stressed or anxious, but it's not. That's not the case. There is so much more to that, and there's a lot of nuance, but that's how it is for all mental illnesses in general. There's no clear-cut way to define it. Like, yes, the DSM-5 gives you the general idea, but I don't want this to be lost. And I want people to know just how much it's affected my life. And that's why I want to talk about it. Trichotillomania has really infected my life, is a really good way to put it, in a variety of ways. So let's just get into it. This mental illness has destroyed my idea of self-worth and value with my appearance. In all honesty, I haven't liked my appearance for most of my life. When I had hair, I was much more confident, because anyone who knows me knows that I really hate being bald. It's literally the reason why I wear hats, because I don't like how I look bald. I think I look better with hair. Now, a lot of my med school friends, they have no other basis of what I look like with hair, because I'm basically bald right now. But what I have known for myself is when I've had hair, I've been told that my eyes are absolutely stunning, and that I have a gorgeous, beautiful smile, and those things bring me so much joy. But it doesn't change the fact that I do place a lot of value in hair. Like, everyone always says, oh, don't worry about your hair, it grows back. Well, guess what? It doesn't for me. So I try really, really hard to accept my appearance and how I look. And it's corny, but the whole bald is beautiful moniker, and I have a hard time believing it. I know everyone tells me that I look good bald, but it doesn't change the fact that I still think I look better when I had hair. It would be different if it was age-related, just male pattern baldness. I'd be fine with that, because that's just inevitable. Having a mental illness where I pulled out my hair so much that it damaged my scalp and my follicles to the point that my hair doesn't grow back, I did it to myself. And because of that, I'm bald. It's not because of male pattern baldness just taking its course. I did it to myself. So I personally feel responsible for the fact that I look the way that I do. And I have a hard time moving past that and giving myself grace and allowing myself to love how I look, because it sucks. I look so much better with hair. there's this one picture that I'm going to show you that I took during my freshman year of college as well, and it's one of my favorite pictures that I've ever taken. Man, look at that handsome guy. Look at that hair, and look at my eyebrows, my eyes, my smile. This is what I love. There's something so special about this picture to me because I know that this is what I could have looked like if I hadn't destroyed the natural hair that I had. I'm learning to love this guy too. The bald being beautiful. But when I compare it to that first picture, it still hurts my heart knowing that that's what I could look like right now. But because of my mental illness, I don't. And it's a hard reality to have to accept every single day. It also doesn't help that I was bullied heavily for my appearances throughout middle school and high school. And people often equated it to my intelligence as well. Like, oh, look at the freak with bald spots on his head. He must be an idiot. What kind of smart person would pull out their own hair? Like, that's just idiotic. That's stupid. And that's something that I carried throughout a lot of my life growing up, is that, oh yeah, I must be an idiot, because why would a smart person pull out their own hair? It's something that's supposed to stay there. That's not something that you're supposed to touch. And just the constant being bogged down by other people for how I looked, especially when it came to just the number of bald spots that I had or not having eyelashes. When people point that out when you're young, it really affects you. Nowadays, if people notice something like, oh, wow, I didn't notice that you didn't have eyelashes today, or, oh, I noticed this about you, I just use that as an opportunity to educate people about my mental illness, because it is so important that people hear about it and learn about it, because most people don't even know what it is. I'm sure this is probably one of the first times you've heard about trichotillomania, unless you are one of my friends watching this, where you know that I talk about it all the time because I'm super open about mental health in general. And I do have to say that my trichotillomania has gotten so much better over the past probably 6 years of my life in particular, because I did spend quite a bit of time in therapy, as well as using mindfulness and making sure I know where my hands are at all times. And I even made sure to bring all of my silly putty with me, because this is something that I used throughout middle school all the time, and even parts of high school, to keep my hands busy. If I'm sitting in class and I feel the urge to pull out my hair, I would take my silly putty and then I would just start messing around with it in class, so that way I could keep my hands busy and keep them away from my head. And I definitely think that I've made a lot of progress on that front, but I just wanted to use this as a time to talk about the progress that I've made since then. And there's obviously still a lot of work to be done, especially when it comes to my own self-confidence with my appearance, because honestly, I've been single for 26 years, which is, my entire life. And I think a large part of it has to do with the fact that I don't fully love the way that I look. Because in my mind, what girl is going to date this guy, the bald one, as compared to the one who has hair? And I know that sounds sad, but most people, when you look at them, the first thing that you notice, eyes, mouth, hair, like that type of thing. Well, I don't have the hair. And I know it's not something that all of my value should be placed upon, but when I think of beauty for myself, that beauty does include having hair. And I have to work on myself and love myself for how I look. Because if I'm looking at myself right now, honestly, I don't look that bad, honestly. Like, obviously I need to get rid of all of my scabs and stop picking at it, but that's another problem for another day. But I need to love this person that I'm looking at, and it's something that I work on every single day. And I want anyone out there who is also struggling with their appearance to give yourself grace and to love that person in the mirror that God has created. Whether you have done something to your appearance by your own means or by something that's happened out of your control, know that you are beautiful, you are loved, and that your appearances don't dictate your value and your self-worth. I appreciate you just listening to me drone on for the past who knows how many minutes it's been. I'll figure it out when I start editing this video, but just know that people with Trich have a difficult time accepting their appearance because it's something that you're doing to yourself. It's not something that is just age-related that's going to happen anyways. So if you know anyone with trichotillomania, give them grace. And just remember, you don't always have to comment on their appearance. They know what they look like. If you want to ask them to talk about the mental illness, if they're comfortable with it, by all means, go for it. Because I love talking about it, because I want people to know. For me personally, anyone can comment about my appearance and talk about it, whatever, and then I will immediately turn that into an opportunity to educate. But not everyone is going to feel that way. So if you come up to me, have at it. I really don't care. I'm going to be open and honest and tell you what I can. But you don't have to comment on people's appearance all the time because it gets exhausting. Thank you all for listening. If you have any questions or if you want to know more, I know that I didn't say everything that I probably could have in this video. So if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to comment down below, let me know, or you can just reach out to me directly. Tell me if this video was helpful to you at all or anything like that. I'll see you in the next one. Chaco Doc out.